Alright troops, strong and conditioned, back with the whiteboard series. And what is the purpose of today's whiteboard series? Well, it's a simple process. It's called getting jacked. How do we get jacked? Namely via the medium of lifting weights and also performing high rep bodyweight routines. Well, I'm going to attempt to describe or explain a system or an approach which will be conducive to achieving those goals. So you'll need to bear with me because ultimately this is off the top of my head, but hopefully you can extract some gold, some nuggets that you can take with you so that you can finally achieve jacked status. You can get jacked and stacked and you can just move on with your life, okay? Because every guy wants to get jacked. I don't care what any guy says. I don't want to get jacked. I don't want to build too muscle. Said no man ever. Every man has this innate desire to build some muscle mass so that he looks like he's packing some serious beef, looks intimidating, I don't know, whatever. It's a good look, we all love it, don't lie. If you say you don't, you're at it. Okay, so the first premise we need to address is what is our current physical status? Are we overweight? Do we have too much body fat? Are we carrying far too much timber? If we are, then refer back to my lose weight and get fit video because you want to lean down. You want to create that anabolic environment on which success can be built. The reason being that in order to build muscle to get jacked, then we need to eat at a calorie surplus. And if you are already walking about looking like the Michelin Man or the Marshmallow Man or whatever you want to call it, then you are not only going to be building muscle, but you're going to be adding extra slabs of fat and you're going to look like utter rubbish. It's just a fact. So we want to lean down. We want to just get cut to the bone and just lose a lot of weight so that we ultimately create a buffer zone which will allow us to start building muscle, but at the same time accumulating a little bit of body fat. You're not going to avoid it. So, rule number one is establish physical status. Physical status. We need to have that starting point. We all start somewhere. The journey starts with one step. We need to establish that because that will give us clarity on the direction that we need to take. So if we're overweight, we're going to start this game by losing weight. If we are underweight or at a good enough weight where we're at a low enough body fat percentage, preferably between 12 to 15% in my opinion, then we are going to look to add muscle at that point. So how do we accomplish that? First and foremost, we need to figure out the nutritional direction we plan to take, and ultimately it's a calorie surplus. A calorie surplus. Now, once again, how do we figure out our calorie surplus, our calorie needs at that point? Well, I've already explained it in the last video. I like to make it a clean cut process, so I would download a food tracking app, namely the Macro Factor app, because the Macro Factor app determines your total daily expenditure and it will give you a highly accurate reading as to how many calories you should be ingesting or eating on a daily basis. And the good thing about the Macro Factor app is that the amount of calories you can determine how much you want to take, which goes over your TDEE. I would recommend at this point choosing a calorie surplus that takes us to the point where we are adding 1 to 2 pounds of weight per month. So that is 1 to 2 pounds per month. Now for me, the issue with getting jacked and adding muscle is that there are ultimately two approaches. There's the sensible approach, and then there's the slapdash approach. And the slapdash approach is more fun. It's less, there's less mental load because you don't have to really count calories. You just have to gorge yourself on food. And by all means, you're going to add muscle in that manner, but you are going to accumulate a hell of a lot of fat as well, which is going to make the dieting process a bit more protracted in that respect. And it's not really good for your health. And we need to kind of think of that when we are at a certain age, in my opinion. Young guys can probably fly by the seat of their pants, but guys at my age, 40, 50, they need to be a bit more diligent with what they are consuming. So we establish our calorie surplus, which ultimately should be 1 to 2 pounds per month. You can do this easily in the app. If you choose not to get the app, you can do it with MyFitnessPal. You can calculate your maintenance calories. Just watch what direction the scale's moving on a day or a weekly basis, and then judge from there and tinker. That's a more protracted process, and sometimes we don't have that much time. We want the process to be streamlined. We want it to be quite fast and efficient, so macro factor takes away all of that guesswork. Okay, so once we have established how many calories we consume, we then need to consider the training. How are we going to train to get jacked? How is it done? How do we do it? My dog's crying. He's always trying to get my attention. Come here. We achieve it through lifting weights, those weights getting progressively heavier and heavier on a weekly or monthly basis, and being intelligent with our high body weight rep, high rep body weight selection. That is the way I would go about it. Some people might not, but they're not me. Okay, doke. So, first off, we need to identify how many times a week we can train. Now, if you're a 20-year-old guy who's unemployed, still stays with mummy and daddy, then you can train every day. You can go to the gym and you can spend 3 hours in there. That's just the way it is. However, if you're like me, you're a dad, you've got 3 kids, you've got a full-time job, you've got other things going on out with that job, like trying to make YouTube videos and other social media content, then your time is of the essence. You need to be really diligent with how you're going to channel your efforts. So in that respect, we need to construct a system. And we construct said system by identifying how many times we can get to the gym. Now, if you can only get to the gym twice a week, then you would probably be best served by doing a full body workout. Three times a week, probably a full body workout as well. Those would probably be the best approaches for you. However, if you can go 4 times a week, then an upper, lower program would probably be better for you. If, however, you can go 5 times a week, then I would probably go for a push-pull leg split. A push-pull legs split. So it's a case of identifying how many days a week you can get to the gym or train in a home gym, and applying the proper workout to those available days. Now, once we have determined how many times we can get to the gym, we need to then select the necessary exercises that will get us jacked and the amount of volume we can accomplish in that week. Now, to simplify this, there's a lot of debate in the fitness sphere about what's more important, volume or intensity. I don't want to go down that road in this video. I think it's pointless. And I think at this point, for guys watching this, they need a simplistic approach which is easily measurable. So in that respect, the system that I advise is gearing more towards volume to determine progressive overload. Now, let's just go for a ballpark figure. The science, or the science guys, suggest that anything in the region of 10 to 20 sets per muscle group is productive. And there's actually different volume recommendations for different body parts, but I think that's like just making things a little more confusing at this point. So, in order to set a baseline and to ensure that we are hitting the necessary volume goals, we are going to go for 12 sets of volume, 12 sets of exercises on a weekly basis. 12 sets of everything, just to make sure that everything's hit. Now, how do we do that? How do we use these calculations or numbers to work out a program? Well, once we have determined how many days a week we train, we have to divvy the sets up so that that volume is spread throughout the week. So, for example, if we are doing full body 3 times a week, that would mean that we would probably have to hit 4 sets per body part per workout. So, full body would mean 4 sets per workout per body part. So you could do a bench press one day, 4 sets, then an overhead press for your shoulders, 4 sets, bicep curls, 4 sets, back, 4 sets, legs, 4 sets, hamstrings, 4 sets, and get out of there. And you would do that 3 times a week. However, if we were doing an upper-lower split, that would mean that we would have to do 6 sets per workout to achieve those volume goals. So we're doing an upper day, we're doing our bench. We could split that up into 2 different exercises, similar ones, a bench press and a dumbbell bench press, and we would do 3 sets of each exercise. For the shoulders, 3 sets of lateral raises, 3 sets of overhead press, 6 sets. Back, a row, a chin up, 3 sets of each, 6 sets, and we would do that twice a week. So that would give us the 12 sets per week. However, if we were doing a 5-day split, a push-pull legs, this is where it becomes a bit more complicated, because we need to figure out how that week works with a push-pull legs. So if I was programming push-pull legs, it would be push one day, pull the other day, legs the other day, push the other day, and pull the other day. I would take the weekend off, weekend off. And then in the next week I will start with legs, push, pull, legs, push, days off. And then that would just keep rotating on that basis. However, on the push day, I would be looking to ensure that I am also getting 6 sets on that day, but only on pushing exercises. So for example, chest would be getting 3 sets if it was 2 exercises, bringing it up to 6 sets. Shoulders, 6 sets. Triceps, 6 sets. However, if I'm training 5 days a week with these workouts, they'll probably find that the workout duration is shorter, as opposed to a full body workout, which may take longer because you're hitting more muscle groups in a day, and although less sets, there's more muscles being hit and more exercises being performed sometimes. Depends. So you need to get your volume right in that respect, because this will allow us to measure progress. I understand there's other ways of getting jacked, but just for the premise of stability and continuity, we will just focus on volume at this point. It will probably serve you well. Once you've got jacked in, you can do whatever you want. You can do your own thing. So for just a recap, we establish how many times a week we can work out and how many sets we need to achieve in those workouts to hit our weekly total, which is 12. Okie doke. So, how do we select exercises? Well, if you want to get jacked, you want to get bang for your buck. You want to get training economy in there. You just want to make sure that exercises are efficient. Now, I also understand that right now in the fitness sphere or weightlifting, there is it's geared towards optimal. There's targeting muscles for hypertrophy. And I'm not disputing that in any shape or form. But what I am saying is that sometimes you need to master the basics, and there's been a kind of moving away from exercises that are tried and tested. There's guys arguing that squats don't work for hypertrophy, that bench press isn't going to build a big chest. And I say that's absolute quad swallop for guys that are just natural, that just want to get jacked. Guys have been doing benches for years, they've been getting jacked. Guys have been doing squats for years and getting jacked. So you need to block out the white noise in that respect and concentrate on the basics. Case in point, when I go to the gym, I see young guys and they've got the bench set up and they're doing like iliac pull downs and they're getting the right profile and they're just dragging it round. I never see these guys doing weighted pull-ups, ever. I don't even see that much muscle on these guys, to be honest with you. What I do see is somebody who's been watching TikTok for too long and seen some jacked bodybuilder who built his foundation on basic exercises, who is now having to provide a new stimulus to add grams of muscle, and these guys are getting caught up in that sort of stuff. We're not getting caught up in that. We are focusing on the basics. So what are the basics? The basics are compound movements. We really need to hit compound movements hard because they work and they're economical. They hit lots of muscle groups and they provide bang for our buck. And they put the body under load and they allow us to accumulate more tonnage. So for example, if I'm going to concentrate on lots of lateral raises for my shoulders, I'm probably not going to do more than like 8 to 10 kilograms. 10 kilograms, 10 sets, that's 100 kilograms of tonnage. Whereas if I do an overhead press for 40 or 50, well, if I'm doing 10 sets, 10 reps with 50, that's 500 kilos of tonnage. So I know people will dispute this, but ultimately that just convinces me. So we need to focus on these big basic exercises, which is going to provide the majority of our beef. So what exercises we're going to select? Compounds. For legs, we go with the squat or a squat variation. We go with a leg press. We go with split squats. We go with For accessories, I would go with a leg extension. Any sort of squat variation, a leg press, split squat, leg extension, that will cover your quadricep goals. That will cover the quadriceps, so don't overthink it. Hamstrings, the back of the legs, or a hip hinge movement. Hams, the Romanian deadlift. RDL. We need to get that classic hip hinge in there. Sorry, my dog's eating something. What are you eating? So be you. He's eating a pillow. Classic RDL. Seated leg curl. Or a lion leg curl. That's all I would be doing for my hamstrings at this point. That will cover your hamstrings for sure. Okay, chest. Bench press. Dumbbell bench press. A machine chest press. Some form of horizontal press should suffice for the chest. Shoulders, or shoulders as we call them in Scotland. Shoulders, overhead press, lateral raises, seated overhead press, or, and if you can grin and bear it, a Smith machine behind the neck press. I think that's a fantastic movement because it hits your rear delts really hard. If you get the shoulder mobility, go for it, man. It hits your shoulders hard, believe me. My shoulders have been experiencing really cool growth by doing a lot of behind the neck presses. As you can see, you get that sort of cannonball delt look. So, shoulders, then back. Who doesn't want a big back? Who doesn't want to be unable to enter a room unless they turn around to the side and walk in like that? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for that back jack. And how do we get a big back? Chin-ups, pull-ups, chins. My favourite exercise, weighted chins. Weighted pull-ups are going to make your back explode like Mount Etna. They are going to be jacked to the point where you look like a Concorde. Honestly, you need to do chin-ups. However, we need to supplement that with a row. We need to get that thickness. So a seated row of some sorts, particularly one that's supported by the chest, I kind of like. Seated row, a bent over row. Lots of guys dispute this movement. They say that your lower back takes over your hamstrings. But you know what? Listen, the bent over row is a tried and tested classic. Who doesn't like pulling weight off the floor in that manner up to their chest, banging it up? Pictures of Arnie with Franco Colombo just banging out bent over rows. Just classic staples. A dumbbell bent over row. Just any form of row that's just going to hit your back hard. Okay. Biceps. Now the biceps is a tricky one because it can sometimes go into that area where it's more optimal. I tend to find that works for me. A bicep curl with an easy bar. Can't beat it. A straight bar bicep curl. However, I'm liking moves with an incline where my shoulder goes past the line in the body, getting that good stretch. So an incline dumbbell curl, a cable curl, something that allows the shoulder to go past the midline. So you're not in that position, you're in that position getting that deep stretch on the bicep. I would focus on exercises like that. Triceps, dips, classic high rep body weight. One thing that I'm really enjoying is the French press, getting the dumbbell behind the head. or an overhead tricep extension, something of that nature. So these are the exercises that I would concentrate on exclusively. Just basic exercises, nothing fancy, none of this optimal angle stuff, just basics. Also, don't forget your abs. Try and hit your abs 3 times a week. Crunches, like decline crunches, hanging leg raises. Something when you're getting that stretch on the abdominals, quite good. When you're getting that full flexion of the spine, they're the sort of moves I would go for, and I would be looking to add weight over time and get progressive overload on the abs as well. Also, what's the next factor? Now we've established how many times a week we can work out, how many sets we need to perform throughout the week, what exercises we should perform, how many reps should we perform. Okay, so in order to ensure progress and to give us a system which is easily measurable, I always advise the double progression method, okay? Because it's very simple to follow and you can see the improvements. However, we need to establish a rep range. So I will break it down into 2 camps. If we're doing a big compound exercise, which is using more than one muscle group, like a bench press or a squat, I would be going for 6 to 10 reps and just keeping it in that rep range or whatever you want to call it. If we're doing an isolation exercise like a bicep curl, triceps, calves, then I would probably jack that up to 8 to 15 and use that rep range, because you can really murder those muscles and go straight to failure. Whereas a squat, bench press, there's a degree of risk involved, so you want to kind of, I don't want to say take it easy, but you're not going to go to true failure in these barbell exercises, for example. So you want to keep it a bit more conservative in that respect. So how do we apply that to the sets? Okay, so if we're doing full body, for example, we are doing 4 sets of 6 to 10, okay? So 4 sets of 6 to 10 reps. And how do we ensure progression within that rep range? Okay, so for example, on your first week, you do 1 set of 8. You do 1 set of 8 for the second set. Third set is 1 set of 7. And the last set is 1 set of 6. Okay? And then the next week, we're feeling that we're getting stronger. So what happens is we go 1 set of 9, 1 set of 9, 1 set of 9, 1 set of 8. We keep going up in that fashion until we hit 1 set of 10, 1 set of 10, 1 set of 10, and 1 set of 10. Once we have achieved the top end of the rep range for all the sets, then that is our cue to add weight the next session. So we're not ultimately looking to be adding weight every single session. We want to pick a weight where we are straining from the first rep. So in that respect, like, the way I look at it is this, and this is the way I describe it to people in the gym, to give them an idea how hard they need to work, because this is where it gets a bit complicated. How hard should the sets be? Now, say I do like 10 reps on a machine press, okay? So my first 5 reps are nice and controlled, right? And then when it comes to rep 6, I'm starting to slow down, and it's getting slower, even though I'm still generating the same force when I'm pushing that weight. So with that in mind, once that bar speed starts to slow down, then I'm creating more tension. So those are the only reps that are effective in that respect. So if I've performed 10 reps, 5 were at a nice controlled cadence, and the last 5, there was more strain involved, and the bar speed or the machine speed was starting to slow down, those were the only effective reps. So only out of those 10 reps that I performed, only 5 were effective. If I've done 4 sets of 10 reps, that means that 20 were effective and 20 weren't. So 20 were a waste of time in that respect. They were just junk. So we want to pick a weight where the weight is it's a strain from the start. You're struggling just to get those 6 reps out, or 7 reps. And we do that through warming up. We establish our working sets, these sets I just explained, by warming up. So your first set should be just a warm-up, getting the joints lubricated. The second warm-up set should be the gauge that you use to determine what the work sets are going to be. So we want to make the sets difficult in that respect. And this is so important because this is how we build muscle. We want to stress the muscle. We want to work hard. We don't want to be just doing, yeah, ginger bearded guy told me to do 10 reps. That's me done for the day. Bye. We want to make it a strain from the start. So we need to figure out our training intensity in that respect as well. Okay, so to recap, or to give us just a kind of backtrack a little to give us some understanding. How many times can I work out? How many times can I work out? Okay. How many sets do I perform in a workout? This is taking ages. Do it. Aye. How many sets do I perform in a workout? What exercises? And how many reps? These are the things you need to establish before you can construct your own program, because that's what you ultimately have to do. You need to construct your own program because you need to have an idea what's involved in the programming process, because this will give you the skill set to create your own programs and ensure some degree of progress in the gym. And it'll give you a good footing. It means you can go to a gym and just work hard. There's nothing better than constructing your own program and seeing it work, creating that magic in the gym. Now, the one thing I will advise, and this is something that a lot of people forget, is that it's not going to be like all plain sailing from the get-go. Programs need bedded in. You need to bed in a program. Like, you don't just start a program and it's like, oh, from the start you're just getting jacked. You need to bed it in. And this is something I don't see a lot of people speaking about. So it's going to take you like a month to just fine-tune the process, and that's okay. You need to embrace that. So don't go into the gym thinking, I'm just going to just blaze this session and I'm going to annihilate it and I'm going to walk out here looking like a juggernaut. It's not going to happen like that. You need to understand that you need to become comfortable with that bedding in process. So the first week might be too comfortable, but you're establishing the weights at that point. You're using that time, that initial period, to determine how hard you can go in the sets, exercise selection, what's working for you, what's not working for you. So look at the first month as an introductory phase. When you begin a new job, you don't get thrown in at the deep end and told to just do your own thing. There's usually some training involved, there's usually a bedding in period, and you need to look at workouts in the same manner. So just get into the gym, start doing your sets, start doing your reps, figure out the exercises that you feel are being most effective and start building on them. Okie doke, that's how we bring weights into the mix. So how do we bring the high rep body weight stuff into the mix? Okay, this is a difficult one. This requires a bit more thought process. Because we all want to do burpees, that's what I'm known for. How do we bring burpees into the mix? Well, if we're looking to get jacked, we want to build muscle. We want to build extra lean tissue. We don't want to be doing one pumps all the time and cutting up and losing calories. So we need to be quite diligent with our burpees and chin-ups and things like of that nature. So how do we go about it? We identify the burpees that we can perform at this point. Now, if you are coming from a background where you lack the conditioning or the fitness, then it's probably better off that you go for something like a 2 pump if you can, or something higher in that respect, because this is going to aid the muscle building process. Those volume of push-ups is just going to provide that overload and allow us to just slowly add new tissue over time as the body gets highly conditioned. So when we are performing our burpee routines, we want to keep those pumps high. How high? In an ideal world, I would go for 5 pumps and above. These are going to be conducive to the mass jacked building process. I tend to find that your 1 pumps, where your heart rate's a lot higher, you're getting more work done in regards to moving up and down. These are probably more conducive to overall conditioning and also burning calories, whereas your pumps start to bring that point of failure in, which helps the muscle building process. Dog's gone mad here. Okie doke. So we need to be diligent with our burpee selection. So we should be looking to add, say, 2-3 burpee sessions in a week. We don't want to go overboard because we're building muscle at this point. We don't want to kind of inhibit the process by going crazy with burpees. Believe me, I've made that mistake. You need to be quite smart about this. So we need to concentrate on high pumps in the burpees. High pumps. And that means 5+ with the burpees. I would definitely recommend that. Now, this is going to be a bone of contention as well. This is going to be something that's controversial in the burpee community. I would not suggest doing things like Navy SEALs. Navy SEALs achieve full lockout. We want to preserve joint health, so we want to keep tension on the muscle. We do not want to go for full lockout when we are doing our push-ups. Some people might get away with that. If you wish to do that, go for it. It's your exercise routine. Do what you like. However, I would not be locking out. I would be keeping tension on the muscle, getting that pump effect, just filling the muscles with blood. So, no Navy SEALs. Keep your form loose. Don't get caught up with the form doctors. Oh, you should be doing full lockout. You should be giving me chest down to the floor. Listen, we've all done that. That's for there's a time and a place. However, in the mission for jacked, we go for the pumps, the fast pumps. That's my opinion. And it's the same with chin-ups. We go all the way down, all the way up, but we come down so much, keeping the lats close to the elbows as we come down. We keep everything kind of fast, getting that pump in. So I would also be adding a lot of chin-ups in that situation. We wish to do chin-ups. So we combine 5+ pump burpees. And chins. And that is what the majority of our burpee routines should consist of. Chin-ups and 5 pump burpees. This is going to aid the jacked process. Now, another bone of contention. We can add squats in on those high rep bodyweight workouts, but you're only going to get a conditioning effect from that. You're not going to get a jacked lower body doing bodyweight exercises. I know this is a hot take, but you're just not. You're going to have to do exercises that are really demanding, like pistol squats, one-legged squats, which has got a high barrier. There's a high entry level to accomplish those, and we've not got time to be mastering these movements. Unfortunately, in my opinion, you can only build your legs in the gym efficiently. So leg work should just be done in the gym. Progressive overload is done with weights in that respect, or it's more easily manageable, so we should be concentrating on the gym for our leg works to get our legs jacked. But if we want to increase conditioning, then by all means go for bodyweight squats. So in essence, when performing burpee routines, I would suggest that you only perform high pump burpees combined or supersetted with chin-ups. These are just going to add more free volume into the mix, which will help further your jacked goals. Right, okie doke, I've spoke for enough. Hopefully you guys can take something from this and construct your own program. So in essence, I'm going to sum it up, and I can't be bothered writing on the whiteboard anymore, it's boring me. Right, so number one is establish our physical status. Are we too chubby? If we are, lean out. If we're at a good weight, low percentage of body fat, then we are looking to develop a calorie surplus. We do so using the Macro Factor app. We aim to get 1 to 2 pounds per month of growth. We don't want to go too high because we'll just accumulate so much body fat and it will start yo-yoing. Number two is we identify how many days we can work out and then find a workout split which accommodates that. So we can only work out 2 or 3 times a week, full body. If we can work out 4 times a week, upper lower split. If we can do 5 times a week, push pull legs, push pull, and just continue into the next week. We then identify exercise selection and we go down the route of picking exercises that provide bang for our buck. Basic exercises which are easily measurable in terms of progress. We also identify the rep range which we wish to work in, and once we have achieved the top end of the range, we then add weight, which can take weeks, months in some respects. We stick to the program diligently. We do it for 6 months to a year. We don't deviate. We need to just kind of be focused in that respect. And last but not least, when we bring high rep bodyweight circuits into the mix, we focus on high pump burpees, 5 pumps and above, and we also superset those with chin-ups. And we keep the form kind of loose, focusing more on the pump, and we just do those 2 or 3 times a week in our spare time. If you've got a chin-up tower in the house, or if you get some gym time and you can get in there for 20 minutes. That's pretty much it. That is pretty much the template for getting jacked. It works, and the only thing that's going to make it work is consistency, is intensity, and to quote Jared Miller, is patience. Once we bring patience into the mix, then if you follow the steps that I have provided, then you are definitely going to see some gains. You're definitely going to enter Jacksville, Arizona.